I'm going to introduce all three of you. So. Good afternoon. How's everyone doing? It is wonderful to see you all here. My name's TJ. I'm the program coordinator here at the Rancho Mirage Library and Observatory. I'm just kind of curious today, is there anyone who has never been here before? Welcome. Oh, quite a few of you. So welcome. Definitely happy to have you here. Make sure if you have a moment to take a look around. And we'd love to have you back sometime. In fact, we do programs all of the time, like today's program. We do music programs, film programs, we have authors speak. So definitely check out what we're doing. You can pick out one of our program guides in the back of the room on your way out. So just a couple quick reminders before we get started. If you have a cell phone with you, just take a minute to go ahead and turn that off or put it on silent. I also just want to say that partnerships like these are some of my favorite programs that we do. They're kind of win-win for everyone. So if you have an idea for a program or an organization that you think could tie into something we're doing at the library, or we could highlight them, definitely feel free to let us know. You can just either get in touch with me or send an email to programming@ranchomiragellibrary.org. I also just want to mention, if you are a fan of wildlife and conservation and the outdoors, tomorrow we have a very, very cool program coming up that we are partnering with the Desert Wildlife Center on. We're going to have the Wild and Scenic Film Festival here. So it's going to be at 7 p.m. tomorrow night, and we hope that you can all come out. We're going to have about 2 hours of really great short films. It's a terrific program that has been put together, and it should be a lot of fun. So I've also put the program for that. There's copies in the back of the room as well. If you want to grab one on your way out, you can see what the actual films that we're going to be screening are. So we're looking forward to that. But now on to today's program. We're proud to welcome 3 members of the Greater Palm Springs Animal Allies Leadership Team. Executive Director Dan Rossi, Board Member Linda Talley, and immediate past chair Tamara Hedges. They will present an engaging talk about wildlife rehabilitation in our community and how the new Desert Wildlife Center will serve as a critical resource for wildlife in our region. Located at the site of the former Coachella Valley Wild Bird Center in Indio, the new DWC is funded and operated by Greater Palm Springs Animal Allies, formerly Friends of the Palm Springs Animal Shelter. Today we'll discover practical ways to get involved and to make a difference for the animals that share our desert home. Please help me welcome the team from the Greater Palm Springs Animal Allies up to the stage.
Good afternoon. It's so great to see so many people come out today, so thank you for being here. We appreciate it. I'm Dan Rossi. I'm the Executive Director of the Palm Springs Animal Allies. We run the Palm Springs Animal Shelter and the soon-to-be-open Desert Wildlife Center in Indio. So, about the Desert Wildlife Center, the Greater Palm Springs Animal Allies mission is to transform the lives through extraordinary animal care advocacy, inspiring compassion and positive relationships between the community and the animals through direct action and human education. Here's an update video of what we're doing at the Wildlife Center. Can you run that?
Exciting progress is happening at the Desert Wildlife Center. Thanks to your support, we've reached several critical milestones in our journey to officially open our doors. We've secured all necessary state and city building permits, allowing us to move forward with essential upgrades. Concrete walkways have been poured to ensure the facility is fully ADA compliant and accessible to everyone. Inside the Tally Norris Wildlife Rehabilitation Center, renovations are well underway. We're installing new drywall and flooring, upgrading electrical and plumbing systems, and adding floor drains to meet modern standards. We're thrilled to announce that our brand new event center is now complete. This dedicated space will host wildlife education programs, community gatherings, and fundraising events to support our mission of protecting the natural environment. As we prepare to open, our dedication to helping wildlife across the Coachella Valley has never wavered. One recent rescue highlights the impact we're already making. Our team received a call about a baby great horned owl that had fallen from its nest during a windstorm in Desert Hot Springs. Acting quickly, we provided warmth, fluids, and overnight care to stabilize the owlet. The following day, with the help of caring residents, we created a new secure home using a laundry basket and bungee cords. All 3 owlets were relocated to their new nest, and the mother owl accepted the new nest almost immediately. Both parents are now actively caring for their young. This remarkable rescue underscores the critical need for wildlife support in our region, even as we work to officially open the Desert Wildlife Center. We're excited to announce that we're on track and plan to open soon. Thank you for your continued support in making the Desert Wildlife Center a reality. Together, we're building a brighter future for wildlife in the Coachella Valley.
Thank you. It's been a real thrill to see this site come to fruition. A little bit about my background. I come from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I came out here 3 years ago, but ran a shelter in the second largest wildlife center in Pennsylvania back east. And one of the reasons the board chose me as the executive director of the organization is because of the experience related to wildlife rehabilitation. Our wildlife center is there to provide the care and the treatment to injured and ill birds, reptiles, and small mammals with the goal of releasing them back into habitat. Treating birds upon opening is our first goal. Then we're going to move on to small mammals and reptiles in the near future as well. And who knows, the sky's the limit after that as we grow and expand this site. We treat every animal, whether it's wild or companion, with kindness, compassion, and respect here. Where's the Desert Wildlife Center? It's located in Indio at the former site of the Coachella Valley Wild Bird Center, which operated there over 30 years. Has anybody ever been there before? Several of you, yes. So the center was closed about a year and a half ago for several reasons. The state was really looking to move wildlife rehabilitation to a higher standard, and the facility, the building, just didn't meet those needs. Unfortunately, with the closing of that, it really left only one other wildlife rehabilitation center here in the Coachella Valley. There are roughly only in the whole state of California about 70 rehab centers, and only 2 counting ours that will open up in Riverside County. What's it really required to operate a wildlife rehabilitation center? The biggest thing is licensing. You need to have a California Department Fish and Wildlife license, but you also need to have a federal U.S. Fish and Wildlife license as well, mainly because birds are migratory. They can go from state to state to state. So you have to have that double level of state licensings and federal licensings in place. The license is twofold attached. It's attached to the individual who rehabs the animals at the center, as well the facility as well. They want to make sure you have the right people with the right experience, but they also want to make sure that the facility is up to the grade and standards that are needed to do the rehabbing as well. I'm happy to announce we just secured a new wildlife director, Micah Curtis, who is coming from Project Wildlife in San Diego. He has thousands of hours of experience and is working on transferring his permits out to our center now. He should be really working with us and on the ground here in early May at this point in time. Following these requirements, again, our goal is always to release wildlife. What is wildlife rehabilitation? It's treating sick and injured wildlife. It's caring for orphaned and baby animals that are out there. And it's also education. It's about educating the community on wildlife and peaceful coexistence. Although our center is not open yet, we are very busy the past several months doing programs like this to education. We have a helpline that has been up and running to give advice to individuals when they have questions about injured wildlife out there as well. We do these things in the respectful way to not imprint human contact onto the wildlife. We want wildlife to stay wild. And often when we're rehabbing, we will use fake beaks to feed birds with. We have covers that people put over that look like big birds as well. It's pretty cool when we're actually in action doing the rehabilitations. What is not a wildlife rehabilitation center? It's not an animal shelter. Our goal is not to adopt out these animals or put them into human conditioning situations. It's not a petting zoo. It's not a public place where you can go and look at the rehabbed animals. Again, we are really trying to limit the interaction of wildlife and people as much as possible. So when you come to our wildlife rehabilitation center when we're opened with an injured wildlife, you will come in, you will go into our lobby, we will do the interview. When it takes to find out where you got the animal, what the situation is, and that's basically about it. Unfortunately, we won't be able to let you follow that animal, come in and see how it's doing as we move forward. We will have time to time where we'll be doing open tours. We'll be able to see the backside of things, but we really want to limit public interaction with the animals as much as possible. Again, our goal is not a long-term solution for these animals. It's to rehab them and put them back into our communities where they belong. We may do a certain amount. There may be some animals that we are unable to release that might be in the category of being able to be education animals. Those will be very few and far between as we move our program forward, and to use them in situations like that, if it makes sense for that animal, if it would not be a stressful life for that animal as well. Next, we have Linda Talley to come up and talk about the threats to wildlife.
So I'm going to talk about why do we need wildlife rehab? We have so many threats that our wildlife is declining. World Wildlife Fund studies show a catastrophic 73% decline in global wildlife populations in just 50 years. So since 1970, we have lost 73% of our wildlife. So why is this happening? A lot of it has to do with human activities. We have poisons and pesticides in our communities. We all see the bait boxes around our golf courses, our HOAs, our public lands, and we need to get rid of those and stop poisoning. This is poisoning our wildlife. Many poisoned wildlife are so sick that they are unable to find food and they can't avoid their predators, so they can't fend for themselves. They may not die from the poisoning, but they die from their predators. A recent California Department of Fish and Wildlife study found that 88% of raptors and 95% of mountain lions tested had exposure to rodenticides. Of the coyotes tested, 83% had toxic levels of poisons in their systems. And get this, 600 million birds in the US die each year from poisoning. So that's a big problem for wildlife. Lead poisoning from ammunition. Every year in the United States, more than 4,000 tons of lead are shot into the environment by hunters. This results in the poisoning deaths of approximately 20 million animals. Loss and fragmentation of habitat. Wildlife habitat loss is primarily driven by human activities such as urbanization, agriculture, and deforestation. Wildlife have less and less native environments as human developments grow and take over, so they don't have any place to go. And part of this is tree trimming and hedge trimming during nesting season. We can all drive around our neighborhoods and see our gardeners out there destroying trees and hedges where our birds' nests are. And it's killing the birds, it's destroying the nest and the eggs. So we need to make sure we're only trimming from September into January, not during nesting seasons. Another threat for our wildlife are bird strikes to man-made structures. We lose 1 billion birds each year from window strikes, strikes of buildings, and strikes on windmills. So that's a lot of birds dying. And finally, fear and hatred of wildlife. And I'll refer to coyotes as they are one of the most persecuted animals in the U.S. They're often feared and even hated by some people, and particular farmers and hunters, due to their potential to prey on their farm animals and game animals. And also there's the threat to our pets. While coyote attacks on humans are very rare, it can lead to fear and hatred and a desire to eliminate them. Many people want to just go out and trap them, relocate them, and there aren't many animals that do well being relocated. Okay. Let's talk about some of the calls that we're having that come into the helpline. We've had our helpline going for almost 3 months now. This last month, we handled 207 incoming calls. We made 113 outgoing calls, and we transferred 10 animals to rehabs. As Dan said, currently we are not open yet, but what we are doing, we are taking phone calls, helping people with their wildlife situations and issues, and we are helping them find a licensed wildlife rehab and helping with transportation also. So what are some of these calls that are coming in? So, as you can see, baby birds on the ground is a huge one right now. We are in the middle of baby bird season, and many people are coming across baby birds on the ground. In most cases, the best thing to do is to just leave the baby there. That is the best chance, that baby's best chance for survival. Don't immediately assume it needs human help. First, you need to determine the age of the baby bird. Is it a fledgling or is it a nestling? A fledgling is a young bird, mostly feathered, and he's just learning to fly and able to perch and hop around. If you find a fledgling on the ground near bushes and trees, and it appears healthy, please just leave it there. Don't intervene. If you find a fledgling that's in a high traffic spot or in a dangerous place, you can move it safely on the ground close by where the mother can find it. But most likely the mother is close by and watching that little baby. So observe this fledgling from a distance throughout the day, check on it, and check for the presence, but stay back, make sure that you're not scaring the mother away. And ensure that your dogs and cats cannot access that baby bird. Now, if it's a nestling and you find it on the ground, you should look around closely, try to find the nest, and replace that nestling back up into the nest. If you cannot find the nest, you can actually make a temporary nest out of a little Tupperware or a plastic little container, punch holes in the bottom, fill it up with natural materials like some leaves and grass and twigs, and secure it up into the tree and place the little bird there, and then observe to see if the mom comes back. This is the best chance for that baby bird's survival. Not bringing it in to a rehab because it has a high chance of not making it. So we want to try to give them the best chance. Anytime you find a bird or any animal, you can always call our helpline and we will walk you through all of these things. We are here to help. And if you see any visible signs of injury, we can talk you through that and find help for that bird or animal. Another issue we see is a baby rabbit. Baby rabbits are being found. Mother rabbits make nests in lawns and grassy areas, and it's just a shallow depression in the grass. And the mother only comes back twice a day to feed this baby rabbit. So people observe the baby rabbit, they think it's on its own, and they want to bring it in. But don't. Don't intervene again. Leave that baby rabbit out there. You can observe to see that the mom comes back. And if it doesn't, you can give us a call. But in most cases, the mom will come back and take care of the baby. How about an injured animal, an injured bird? Please call us if you see an injured animal. We can walk through some steps with you. We can ask questions. We can assess whether it's normal behavior for the bird or whether it does need to have help. We will run through a set of questions with you. We'll ask about behavior. Is there any wounds? Is it bleeding? And then we can help find a licensed rehab center to take that bird to until we are open. Once we are open in Indio, we'll ask you to bring it to our facility. And next, ducklings in a pool. I just got done with a call from a man who had baby ducklings in his pool. And this happens very frequently. Those baby ducklings cannot get out once they get in because of the ledge is so tall. So you have to help them. I advise to turn off your pool filter immediately and build a ramp of some sort using cardboard or some boards, a yoga mat. Build a ramp for those baby ducklings to get out of the pool and get to safety. They can drown if they're not, they can get exhausted swimming and drowned in a pool if they're not helped out of the pool. And finally, coyotes in your neighborhoods. Another very frequent call. People get very worried when there's coyotes in their neighborhood. So we advise people to always, if they're worried about coyotes, they can haze the coyotes, scare them away. We don't want them to be habituated and get used to humans. So you can scare them away. You can clap, shout, yell at them, create noise to scare them off. But really, let's learn to coexist, peacefully coexist. They're not really hurting anything. They rarely attack people. You just need to keep your pets safe. And we advise people on how to do that too. Some recent helpline cases. We talked a little bit about, or you saw the video about the owlet reunited with his parents out in Desert Hot Springs. We actually got the call from a woman, and she was very fearful for this little owl. The wind was blowing. This was during that storm back in February. The wind was blowing, and there was people gathering around this owl, and we were very worried that someone was going to pick it up, or it was going to get blown away, or something was going to happen. So we went out, we picked up the baby owlet, we kept it overnight, and then we returned. And you saw our facilities manager up there building that temporary nest, securing it up in the tree, and replacing the owlet up there. And the mother returned very shortly to take care of it. So these are success stories. We had a fledgling dove here on the left-hand side. The fledgling, we did not know this was a fledgling. We thought this was an adult bird that couldn't fly. It was called into the helpline, and when we looked at it, we weren't sure. The caller said he'd been hanging out at his house for a couple days, so we were worried. he was hurt, and we took him to rehab. And the rehabber quickly told us, oh, this is a fledgling, you should not have intervened. And so we were going to be taking him back to his home. So that's just a good case to show you, if you can try and leave them, the animals in their habitat, it's really the best thing for them. This dove over here on the other side, there are two pictures of the dove. He was found on somebody's balcony, and we weren't sure what was wrong with him. I worked with this caller for a while, and the dove couldn't fly off, so we weren't sure. But then we finally thought he must have hit the window, the sliding glass door. And so we ended up, the caller took him outside. He couldn't fly, so we transferred him up to rehab. He was rehabbed within a week and ready to return to the wild too. So those are some of the examples of things that we're doing with the helpline. So keep the wild in the wildlife. 90% of the time, wildlife does not need human intervention. When they do require human care, it is generally due to human causes, unfortunately. Our helpline can help you determine if an animal is in true distress and requires human assistance. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. We're not done yet. Yes, I'm done. This is Tamara.
Thank you, Linda. I'm Tamara Hedges, and I serve on the board of directors for the Greater Palm Springs Animal Allies, as does Linda. But I want to acknowledge and thank Linda so much for the many, many hours. I have to look at you. The many, many hours that she spent answering our helpline. I mean, she and a few volunteers have been doing this work over the last 3 months, and it's really extraordinary. So thank you for missing a lot of fun events and Pilates classes and dinners out, all those things that you have put aside to help with the helpline. Linda, thank you so, so much. And I also want to acknowledge that Linda and her husband, Ron Norris, are the whole reason that we are able to open this clinic. They are funding the actual rehabilitation center, the clinic itself, and we appreciate that. So a round of applause for them for that too. Okay, let me get to my stuff. All right, so how you can help. First of all, it's hard to see all of you. I'm going to go like this. Raise your hand if you've actually assisted a bird or small mammal in peril. Oh, keep them up there. Look at that. Quite a few of you. And then let me ask this question. How many of you took those birds or small mammals to a rehabilitation center? A handful of you. The rest of you did this all at home? No. Called authorities. Okay. So like animal control or California Department of Fish and Wildlife? A snake. Oh, we're not talking too much about snakes, but we can in the Q&A if you have questions about snakes. Took them to a vet. Okay. Was it in Palm Desert, Dr. Jeffries? Oh. Oh, okay. Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. You named him? Yeah. We do tend to do that. And it's really important, as Dan was saying, and you saw that photo of the guy carrying around a coyote. That is not what you want to do. And it's different from what we at the Palm Springs Animal Shelter have been doing for years and years and years with companion animals, which is giving them so much love, so much enrichment and socialization. But with wild animals, it's the opposite. As Dan said, sometimes rehabbers dress up in costumes so they don't even look like human beings. So it is a different animal, so to speak, completely. And we are dedicated to doing a lot of outreach. This is just we're in the very early stages, and this is one of our first talks to the community about what you can do to help. But we plan on doing it very often, and then we plan on helping you educate your friends, your family members, your HOAs, your colleagues at the office, all of that, so that we can do better for wildlife, and we really have to. So I just wanted to go through some of the ways that we can help here. Learning, as you are today, about local wildlife and how you can adopt some wildlife-friendly practices in your community. And Linda touched on one of the most important things, which is tree trimming, and I'll get to that in just a second. Advocate for wildlife in your neighborhood and educate others about the importance of our desert ecosystem. So I think I retired a couple years ago, and I know some of you from my place of employment, which is UCR Palm Desert, and we started a California naturalist program there. How many in the room are California naturalists? I know we have one, okay. Usually we have more. But welcome, and thank you, Jane, for being here. And we want everyone to start learning the way that California naturalists do about species. This is a very, very special place. We look out at the desert and we think, wow, it's just a bunch of, kind of brownish, greenish plants and occasionally some color in the spring, a lot of rocks and sand, and that's about it. But it is just teeming with life, and I have learned so much about that. I've learned about the insects and the snakes and the lizards and the small mammals and the apex predators and how it all really comes together. And that knowledge is critically important, more so now than ever, to keep our natural ecosystems thriving and healthy. So we're talking about wildlife that are sick and injured, but a lot of what we do in our everyday lives affects wildlife and their health and well-being. So that's why it's so important to educate. And volunteering with us would be awesome. Answering our helpline, and Linda and others can train you. Linda's becoming quite the pro at that. Transporting animals to certified rehab, licensed rehab facilities. Again, I want to stress that there are so few of these places. As I've become involved in this, I've realized, what is the deal? Why aren't there more licensed rehabbers? And many of the licensed rehabbers are actually just people like you and me that are doing it out of their own homes. They're very small operations. And then there's some that are pretty darn big, like San Diego's Project Wildlife. And there's a new one up north through Peninsula Humane Society. Pasadena Humane has a wildlife center too, so there are some big ones, but the majority, probably 80%, are very small operations, and many of those operations only take in specific species. So the one, Dan said there's 2 in Riverside County that are licensed, and the other one that's licensed only deals with mallard ducks. So we have to drive quite a distance to get to some of these other licensed rehabbers. There is not a single licensed rehab facility in all of Imperial County. So this is a big issue. There's not government funding for it. It's very little, few and far between to get grants and funding for that. And so we have to raise money. We're raising money to do that. I think it's a dirty shame that there's not more funding for something so critically important, but that is indeed the case. And I just want to point out too, we have our volunteer coordinator in the back, Andrea. She's you might have seen her when you came in. She is phenomenal. Again, volunteer coordinator. So she works many hours every week as a volunteer, and she would love to have you come and see her after this and sign up to be one of our cherished volunteers. We could not do anything that we do without volunteers. Yes, volunteers. Actually, and do we have volunteers in the room that can just briefly stand up so we can applaud you for the Wildlife Center? Yay. And in the back, thank you so much. At the Palm Springs Animal Shelter, I just want to brag a little bit. We have over 600 volunteers. 600 volunteers. Now, granted, some of those folks fly away when we leave the cooler months, snowbirds, but they are there nonetheless. And then we have folks that are all year round that are volunteering with the animal shelter, and we hope the same happens with the Wildlife Center. I think it will. Okay, donating, of course, as I said, funding is super insufficient. It's abysmal. So that's a lot of what I do. That's what Dan does. We have people that are just really focused. I know a lot of folks that know me in the room go running when they see me coming because they think I'm going to ask them for money, and they're probably right. But we are able to gather funding from a variety of ways. It doesn't just mean a check. It can mean, you're purchasing one of our t-shirts or our hats. It could be the volunteer hours. It could be transporting for us. There's lots of ways to help. Questions, again, to our hotline, as Linda stated. It is so cool that we have it. We're using a fancy system called DialPad, where you can actually, if you come across an animal in distress or you have questions, you can send a little photo or even a short video for one of our operators to take a look at. And we are hoping that we'll be operating 7 days a week with longer hours, because invariably, just like our pets, we stumble upon these things, or illness or injury happens after hours and on the weekend and that kind of thing, right? How many of you have pets and it's always been like evening? Why are you throwing up now? Right? Same with wildlife. Again, plants, planting native plants, particularly pollinator plants. The foundation really is healthy soil and native plants for a thriving ecosystem. We know that it really starts with the little teeny tiny things, and then up from there, our soil and the microbes in there. And then it's just so important. And I know there's probably been talks here on that, and master gardeners do an excellent job of educating folks around what to plant, when to plant, how to plant. We, by the way, you can't see it in the video that we show, but we are going to have amazing grounds at the Desert Wildlife Center. One of our board members, Paul Ortega, is here in the green shirt. Paul, if you want to stand up, or just so you know who he is, and if you want to talk to Paul afterwards. Paul is an expert in all things plants, so come and talk to him, and he can fill you in on what we're doing at the Wildlife Center in terms of plants. Practice sustainability and compassionate landscaping practices, trimming trees and hedges September through January, outside of nesting season. I just want to tell you, you probably already know this, but the Migratory Bird Treaty Act is a U.S. federal law enacted in 1918 that protects migratory birds and their habitats by prohibiting the hunting, killing, capturing, possessing, selling, or transporting of protected species without prior authorization. It is among the oldest wildlife protection laws on the books. Its creation was one of the National Audubon Society's first major victories, and in the years since its enactment, the MBTA has saved millions, if not billions, of birds. Individuals or organizations may be fined up to $5,000 or $10,000 respectively, and may face up to 6 months imprisonment for misdemeanor violations of the Act. Felony violations may result in fines up to $250,000 for individuals, $500,000 for organizations, and up to 2 years imprisonment. It's unlawful to pursue, hunt, take, kill, capture, possess, sell, purchase, barter, import, export, or transport any migratory bird or any, this is where it gets important. You think I'm just, but this is important, or any part, nest, or egg, or any such bird, unless authorized under a permit issued by the Secretary of the Interior, right? So that's why it becomes so critical that, people start cutting their trees down during nesting season. You're not allowed to do that. That's actually against the law if there's a nest in there, and the trees need to be examined to make sure that there's not an active nest in the tree. Unfortunately, there's a new interpretation of the law by the Trump administration, and it will no longer hold industries accountable for incidental bird deaths under the law. This legal opinion prevents enforcement of all incidental take, removing incentives for companies to adopt practices that protect birds from threats such as oil waste pits. It also eliminates penalties for companies that kill substantial numbers of birds, including from large oil spills. So that's something to keep an eye on. Yeah, okay, I'm going to move on. So ditch the poisons and pesticides, okay? Linda talked a little bit about that. So many of our wildlife species are impacted by rodenticides. They are really horrible. So let's say a rat gets into the anticoagulant, and then a coyote eats that rat. That coyote's whole immune system is shot, and you've seen these coyotes that are running around with severe mange that can actually end up killing them. We have raptors who have consumed rodents who have been poisoned, and then they themselves die from ingestion of those rodents. So really there's a better way to do it, and Paul Ortega, Linda Talley, and I are working on presentations for HOAs, so see us if you would like one of those where we dig in deep into this topic. Provide clean drinking water for wildlife during the hot summer months to help them survive, because it gets hot here, right? Those of us that are here, June, July, August, I am, it is crazy hot. And, we have a lot of concrete around us, and we create these heat islands. And I am one, generally, don't do anything to intervene with wildlife. I don't feed the birds. But during the summer, really, if more of us can provide clean drinking water for wildlife, I think it will go a long way. These are extraordinary times. And if you live in a different place, there's other things you need to do, like in a cold environment. But here in the heat is getting hotter, it's getting drier, it's just getting harder for all of us, humans and wildlife alike. And then lastly, I love cats. How many people have cats? This is a dog crowd. How many people have dogs? It is a dog crowd. Well, I have both, and I love both. I really do. But what I don't love is when folks let their cats go outside willy-nilly. Okay, cats are responsible. I'm going to read you something else. This is not a fun statistic. In the United States alone, there are 60 million to 100 million free-ranging unowned cats. These are non-native predators that, even using conservative estimates, kill 1.3 to 4 billion birds and 6.3 to 22.3 billion mammals each year in the U.S. alone. Now, this is an older statistic. It's from 2013 from Nature, but the Cornell Ornithology Lab tracks all this kind of stuff. And so even if it's not still that high, there's a huge toll on wildlife from cats. And it's an easy solve. We need to spay and neuter our cats, even community cats, get them spayed and neutered. We have to keep our owned animals, our owned kitties inside. I know I have one that loves to go out. What we did is we built a catio. So now she's out there and she can see the birds, but they're fine. She can see them, she has fun. I take a little cat dancer. She thinks she's, hunting something. And I really don't feel like we're giving our cats a miserable life if we don't let them go out and hunt. So that is a plea. Again, we are cat people, we are animal people, but really cats do a lot of damage. So let's work on that together. Okay, and this is interesting. Wild mammals make up only 4% of the biomass on a global scale. Only 4%. There's a lot of us humans, and there are there's a lot of livestock for human consumption out there. So I just wanted to show this because 4% and declining, right? So we know that there's been a lot of extinction happening, and we can do better. We need to do better and help them in any ways that we can. 70% of all birds on the planet, 70% of all birds on the planet with just 30% being wild. That doesn't quite make sense. But of all the birds on the planet, only 30% are wild. I think that goes back to livestock, right? Yeah, so... Yeah. So that's what that means. That's still like most of the birds, are chickens and ducks for consumption and whatever other birds people eat, and just 30% wild. So let's protect those wild birds, and we're losing them as we see here. 83% of all wild mammals and half of all plant species. So. If we're stewards, we're not doing a very good job, right? We can do better. And I love this quote, and so I'm going to read it. Like winds and sunsets, wild things were taken for granted until progress began to do away with them. Now we face the question whether a still higher standard of living is worth its cost in things natural, wild, and free. For us of the minority, the opportunity to see geese is more important than television. Otto Leopold. I know. I just got chills. Anybody else get chills? Oh. And then I want to say something else. This is Einstein. Look deep into nature, and then you will understand everything better. I do believe that, absolutely, without a doubt. Really, we did this. We created all these problems for wildlife. I think we've demonstrated that, and I would like to, challenge anybody. I like a good debate who wants to say that humans have nothing to do with the decline and the threats facing wildlife, because we absolutely do, and we can do better, right? We can do better. Plug for tomorrow night. I know TJ already talked about it, but really love to see you all out for the film festival. I was one of the film screeners along with a few of you in the room, and I think we came up with some really amazing films. They all touch on wildlife and a variety of different species. We have some species that are relevant here to the Coachella Valley, so I hope you'll come. This is free and open to the public. Free because we were able to get some very generous sponsors to give us the funding to be able to show these films. And with that, I believe we will take any questions you good folks might have for us. Thank you. Any questions? We have a microphone there. Also, big shout out to TJ. This guy.
Thank you.
He is so great. I told him, I think I've done a lot of partnership events, but he is like the best partner I've ever worked with. I'm serious. You are really amazing. So thank you.
Questions?
Yeah, to what extent is the water in swimming pools acceptable for wildlife to drink when necessary, like during the summer?
Yeah. So, chlorinated water, of course, is not the best situation for it. Salt's a little bit better, but the ionized is the best pool for drinking when it comes to wildlife. And all those factors, same with humans, to have your body in a pool, the ionized water is the most natural and best. That, again, kills the algae, but is best for humans to be part of as well. The worst really is the chlorinated water. Large amounts of that will kill wildlife.
I have a birth control question. One for my, not me, one for my complex and one for myself. Our complex has increasingly more rabbits that tend to multiply like, well, rabbits. So what can be done besides setting traps or running them over? Well, some people do aim for them, I'm sorry.
Well, and we know that's true with geese because that happened recently here at one of our country clubs. A Canada goose was deliberately run down, killed, and then beaten with a golf club.
Oh, no.
Sorry, but that's the kind of stuff we're up against. It's really horrible. I think Linda could probably address that.
Yeah, I don't know if this is working. Is it? Yeah. Okay. I don't have a good answer for that either. I think, we can't trap or kill the rabbits. We want to try to learn to live with them. I understand the problem.
I have a suggestion.
Okay, go ahead.
You know, we've talked about having hawk perches, raptor perches.
Yes, that's a good one. That's yes. Or owl nesting boxes in your backyard, perches outside to help control them. Coyotes eat rabbits too, so not hazing the coyotes, keeping the coyotes around because that's part of their natural diet. I don't have a lot of suggestions for that.
Well, are they cottontails or jackrabbits? Or cottontails, right? Cottontails have a very, very low survival rate in general. Their lives are very short, and many of them are killed when they're very young. I think, and Jane, you might know the percentage. I think Dr. Cam would, but they really, when I learned about that, I'm like, oh my God, every little cottontail I saw, I was like, I hope you're going to be okay. Because they really, they are prime, dinner for every raptor. And as Linda said, coyotes will, they would much rather eat a rabbit than your chihuahua, I promise you. So part of it is that. And if you do, if it's an HOA and you're able to get some of the owl boxes or raptor perches, that really, it actually really helps. It does. Yeah.
Can I ask another question real quick, please?
No.
Okay.
Oh, I was kidding.
Oh, and don't fear the snakes. They'll help out. The gopher snakes will help out with the little baby rabbits. Sorry, but it happens. You don't want to get rid of the snakes. And to go back to the water, what can we do in the summer to make sure we don't have stagnant water that will breed mosquitoes?
Yeah, Jane, thank you. She's a California naturalist and a climate steward, so she knows her stuff. And that is such an important point that I neglected to say. When we do leave out water, it has to be changed regularly, because there's nothing moving it around. You don't have a filter system in there. So if you're leaving out just it should be a shallow plate. And also you should have a way for anyone who falls in there to get out. So rocks and sticks, so that if a smaller creature is stuck in there, he or she can get out safely. So that's really important too. And the snake thing, really, snakes are so much more afraid of us, and they will not be chasing after you, I promise. Usually when a snake that is venomous strikes, it's because that is their last resort to protect themselves. They're not, they are pretty docile creatures. And a gopher snake or a king snake and a rosy boa. These snakes are wonderful to have around on your property. But if you do have a venomous snake and you need help with that, you can call our helpline.
I noticed when you were talking about the ducklings in the pool, one thing you didn't say, you said a ramp or something, that you can set up. Is it not okay to actually go in and lift them up and put them on the deck?
You can if you can catch them. They are fast.
You got to corner them.
Yeah, and some people use a net but you need to be really, really careful that you don't injure them with a net. But yeah, they're fast. So that's why I say the ramp and trying to direct them, clap and get them out.
And you can get ramps on Amazon, very, yes. And, they're reasonably priced and designed for that situation.
And they just sit in your pool all the time, and then other animals, reptiles can get out, lizards, a mouse can get out of your pool also.
A British friend of mine had over in Britain, he had a pool, which is unusual for over there, but he put styrofoam floats in his skimmers because too many frogs were getting sucked into the skimmers, and every day he would take 3 or 4 very happy frogs out and
good idea.
set them free.
Yeah, good idea.
How do you recommend we balance the enjoyment of having water birds, such as Canada geese and coots, and the volume of them, and the health hazard they might create for children running on the grass that they defecate onto?
And a lot of times we created, honestly, like the perfect attraction for these animals, right? For these birds. It's like, oh, look what's here for me. This shade, this water source, this beautiful coolness in a desert. So we've created that, and I do think that it's incumbent upon us to then have the things that we were talking about, the ways to dissuade, and we didn't talk too much, and we could come to your HOA or wherever this is and talk about it, but really it's about repelling, right, and deterring, and exclusion. So, I said it in the wrong order because it's red. That's how I remember it. But there's ways to keep them. So not being there, but if we were to visit or have one of these experts that are in the field of humane exclusion could come and tell you how to do it based on your particular circumstances, because people have done it. And there's golf courses that are really doing some super cool stuff where they have natural areas, and then they have areas that are well manicured and really there for the golfers, or side areas that are there for community members that includes, kids, grandkids, people of all ages. So there's ways to do it, but we would have to come and look to see what in particular. Yes. Oh, sorry. TJ's in charge.
Thank you for being here. I just had a thought. Is there a model country or region in the United States that is progressive in the area of wildlife care?
Well, there's different things. There's wildlife rehab, and there's some areas that are really amazing and have a lot of resources there. An area that's doing amazing things around rodenticides and pesticides is Malibu. And we just had Poison Free Malibu out to talk with Oswald Land Trust, Desert Wildlife Center, and Mizell Senior Center. So they did a talk there, and then afterward we set up a meeting to talk with Poison Free Malibu and some officials, elected officials, folks from, they weren't elected officials, they were all staff, from City of Palm Springs. So I think there are communities that are doing amazing things in different areas. Do you have an example of a community that you're thinking about that's, okay, well.
I think we just all have a lot of work to do, and I can't think of any place that I know of, but we could be that place here in the Coachella Valley. That's what I'm hoping for.
I like that goal.
Yeah.
Dan,
Yeah.
Can you do it?
That's our goal. That's why we're opening up the Wildlife Center and really wanting to focus on this issue. It is desperately needed here in our valley. Question in the back.
Who do you use for veterinarians? Who takes care of these injured animals?
So Micah Curtis, who will be coming and joining our staff as the Wildlife Center Director, he has the permits to be able to rehab these animals. So he will be our direct first line to do the day-to-day management of it. One of our veterinarians at the shelter, Dr. Grant, specializes in wildlife rehab as well. So she will spend some time there to help diagnose and put together the treatment plans as well. We're also going to work with local veterinarians around the valley that has those expertises, like Dr. Jeffries in Palm Desert. But again, this is something that we need the help of everybody, so volunteers can come in and actually help with feeding baby birds, helping clean cages, helping with dressings, whatever is needed as well. So everybody can really participate in the action of helping to rehab injured wildlife.
For the volunteers that would be at the shelter doing cleaning, doing dressing, et cetera, is that, will that opportunity exist 7 days a week?
We will be open 7 days a week, 365 days a year when we open. So yes, they will be there. And again, we're really in the planning stages of putting all that together for the volunteers to actually do that direct support. Of course, we're going to have training sessions so people really are set up for success to help within the center as well as we move forward. We'll have very flexible time frames, probably 2 to 4 hour blocks that people can sign up and do. We would ask somebody to be on a regular schedule, so if it's every Monday afternoon from noon to 4, something like that. It's the same thing with our helpline. We're looking for volunteers to answer the phones for our helpline, and that is open 7 days a week. We have a whole training program set up for that to help people with that.
Yes, we need help. So please, if you're interested,
She needs to
let
sleep.
us know.
Linda needs to sleep.
Let us know. You know, it's a super interesting role. Every call is different. Every situation is different. It's a lot of problem solving. It's thinking strategically about what to do. So it's not just, you're not just answering the phone. It's really, you're really getting in there. You have to understand how to help these animals, what to do, what not to do. So really, it's a great job. So please, if you're interested, let us know.
And also, when you're a volunteer with the helpline, people won't see your cell phone number or have your personal information. You don't have to physically be there. We have a great system set up called DialPad, where the numbers will be forwarded to you, and it tracks where the calls are coming from, all those numbers. So you can be at home sitting by your pool and answer the phone as calls come in.
Yeah, it's all remote.
It's all remote.
Okay, you could be in Martha's Village and answering calls about the Coachella Valley.
Right.
All right, I think we have time for maybe one last question.
If a volunteer is doing any kind of hands-on, such as feeding baby birds or changing a dressing, are they required to get the licensing, or do they do that under the auspices of
Yeah,
the fellow?
yeah, you would be under the auspices of the supervised person with the permits. And again, you'd be set up and trained and really be able to know what you're doing, and they would be there to help you answer any questions you may have as well.
Okay, we have one more.
She's been, yeah.
I just want to know when you expect to open and where are you? I've never been to that Indio Bird Center. It looked like you were out in the middle of the open desert.
Yeah, it kind of is. So it's
Where
in
is it?
Indio at right next to the Valley Sanitary Authority, if you've ever been to that area.
You don't hang out there? Come on.
How about an
know-
address?
Do you
How
know
about
where?
a street?
Yeah, it's on Van Buren,
Buren.
and it's if you know where Spotlight 29 Casino is and Fantasy Springs, it's over there in that territory. Those are the biggest landmarks. If you take the 10, it's right off of Golf Course Parkway. I think it's called Parkway. Yeah, so it's a ways out there, and it's been there for like 30 years, as Dan said. A wonderful woman, Linda York, started Coachella Valley Wild Bird Rescue and ran it for many, many years. And she was really the only rehab game in town. She did a wonderful job, and then she closed it down, and we took over that site. We don't own the land or the facility. We're doing a lot of work on that facility, but we are leasing it from Valley Sanitary District for a 10-year lease. In May.
We're looking at May, yes. A lot of it, so we're at the final stages of the renovations, but then the state in the city of Indio needs to come in, make sure everything we're supposed to do have been done and give the blessing for the occupancy permit to open up. So, and again, sometimes it's 2 days when they come out, sometimes it's 2 weeks before they can come out. So we have to be flexible.
And, we've been working on this for a while. If we had our druthers, we would have been open 6 months ago. But, we're dealing with government agencies, and there's a lot of moving parts. And anybody ever do a remodel in your own home? The timeline always changes. And then little things like, oh, that's an inch off. You got to fix that. So lots of things like that have happened. But we're in the home stretch.
For example, literally the sidewalks were 1/8 of an inch too small, so we had to extend them. ADA requirements.
I just had a question on the scope for the desert wildlife, because you're talking a lot about like where there's overlap between obviously like urban wildlife where it's people interacting, but are you also supporting sort of the parks, like Josh? There's obviously, you can be injured anywhere wildlife can be. How are you interacting with the parks and the wildlife in those areas where I would think there would be a lot more wildlife than, say, on a golf course?
Well, our plan is to operate regionally. So in this region, it doesn't have to be the Coachella Valley. It can be the high desert. It can be up 74, Mountain Center, Idlewild. There is such a lack of facilities. So anyone that needs us, we're going to be there. It's really important, though, to have connections, and we're building those, with other wildlife rehabilitation centers, licensed rehabilitation centers, and the relationship with California Department of Fish and Wildlife, who then is our partner and our helper in figuring out where certain species should go. We're not set up, we won't be set up to take coyotes and larger, bobcats, but Project Wildlife is, and we would work with California Department of Fish and Wildlife to identify where to go. And I know that the national parks work closely, obviously, with California Department of Fish and Wildlife. So really, it's that communication hub, and just making sure we're all connected, we're working together, we understand who does what and where. I think that's probably the key.
It is. It's the partnerships.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming out, and let's thank our guests
guys.
today. Great program. And please come back tomorrow night and join us for the Wild and Scenic Film Festival.